Welcome to Voices from the Bench, a dental laboratory podcast. Send us an email at info@voicesfromthebench.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Greetings and welcome to episode 273 of Voices from the Bench. My name is Elvis.
My name is Abutments.
Jeez.
Oh, yeah. My name's Barbara.
Barbara, so what do you mean your name is Abutments?
That's your name.
I know it is.
Facetious.
I know.
So I know you want to talk about this because you've been shouting it all over Facebook and you've already been raising money, I see.
Oh, yeah. We don't wait.
That's what you don't do.
It is official. It's all lined up and we have all registered.
Yes.
That's right. I have finally found people dumb enough to join me in the Chicago Triathlon this year.
I'm excited. I'm so excited for you.
Super excited. I was actually out running this morning and the shirt I had on was the last race I did was 2019.
Oh, that's so great.
It's like it's been a while.
I know.
So every year, Chicago Triathlon, we all participate and raise money for the Foundation for Dental Laboratory Technology. Now, Barb, you're a bad right? You do this race by yourself.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I'm already training, just saying. I did 17 miles on the bike yesterday morning.
17 miles on the bike?
Yes.
Yowzer.
I haven't gotten in the pool yet, but I've already been biking and running. So, anyhow.
Yeah, so you do this all by yourself. Me, not so much.
You almost killed yourself on the bike.
Yes.
Not funny. Not funny, but it's funny.
Yeah, it changed my perspective of two-wheeled bicycles.
Yeah, I bet it did.
But listeners of the podcast know that every year, Barb and I, we probably talk about this race a little too much.
At least for a couple months, for sure.
At least. But the cause is dear to both of us, and we hope it is for most of our listeners, too. So every year in August, during the Chicago Triathlon, a bunch of people in our industry sign up to participate, and as they train and get ready, they also raise money for the foundation. How many times have you done this race, Barb?
Oh, I think this is probably the 9th time. It's every time. The only time I skipped it was when I was going through some personal stuff that one year. So probably 9.
Yeah, 8 or 9 times. That's pretty hardcore. So this will be the second time. As the first time I was going to do it all by myself, I actually fell off my bike while I was training. So we don't talk about that. But this year, this team, thanks to the good Mark Williamson, who's going to be biking, he kind of rallied up this group. So
that's awesome.
Huge props to Mark. And then joining us is Bobby Kennedy, who is from Florida and knows what water is and will be swimming.
Yeah, and I told him, you better train, man. That water's treacherous.
Yeah, but if you're swimming in the ocean, I mean, isn't it better?
Yeah, well, still need to train.
I would agree.
You'll need to do it at least 10 times before you get in the frickin' Lake Michigan. It's not easy.
And we are calling ourselves, as you said, the Abutments. We try to think up something funny. We try to come up with a name that people will recognize. Yeah, it works. It works.
Yeah, I like it.
But now it is that time where we're asking all of you, the industry, to sponsor us as we race for the future. And that's what they call the race for the future.
Yeah.
All you have to do is go to dentallabfoundation.org and click the Donate Today button.
And then hit Barbara Warner.
Okay, once you log in, you have to choose the Race for the Future option, and then it'll ask you to enter the race's name. As Barb says, enter her name. So this is where it gets fun. This is where it gets fun, Joe. You can either support me and Team Abutments by typing in Team Abutments, or you can support Barb by typing in Barb Warner.
Or you can support neither of us.
Yeah, you could choose somebody totally different.
Yeah.
It can be any amount, anywhere from $1 and up. All of it will take. Now, we'll put a link on this episode's show notes to make it super easy. But if you can't decide who to donate to between Barb and I, the foundation has agreed that if you put Voices from the Bench as the racer name, they will split it between our two teams.
That's nice.
So, if you love me more, type in the Abutments. If you love Barb more, type in Barb. If you love us equally, Voices from the Bench. It's that easy.
Aw.
But just remember, this is a friendly competition as all the
No,
money goes to the
it is
same
not
place.
friendly competition at all. Okay, you can say it is, but you know how
Yeah,
I roll.
Barb's out for blood. But all the money goes to the same place to support education within our industry. So please,
Yes.
please donate today. So moving on to this week, we have a really cool conversation with a lady that has some opinions about people in the model room.
A few.
But this is because she is a model room technician. Marsha Mais tried the dental assisting and hygiene route, but a pregnancy and an office policy kept her off track just enough to find and fall in love with dental laboratory work. But like most new employees, she was thrown into the model room, where she actually found out she was pretty good, like really good. Marsha talks about her path and situation that leads her to a few different labs, working in different model rooms, some really cool tricks that she has learned along the way, and the real reason she came on, to talk about why we should all be showing more appreciation and gratitude to those that physically do a lot of work that sets the foundation for all of the other work. So join us as we chat with Marsha Mais. Your digital inspiration is important to Ivoclar, and they have the technology to support your digital future. Whether you are just about to introduce digital production into your lab, or if your laboratory is already set for the digital revolution, Ivoclar has the technology, the support, and service package for your specific needs.
From the new and impressive PrograScan scanners to the programmable lineup of milling systems and the Programmat furnaces, Ivoclar has you covered with technology and trusted materials like Ivotion, Emax, and Circad Prime.
All of this under one roof. Customize your digital journey today by contacting your friendly Ivoclar sales representative. Tell them you heard about it on the podcast, and we appreciate your support, Ivoclar. Voices from the Bench. The interview. We are excited today to welcome to the podcast. Now, this is kind of new for us, Barb. Marsha Mais reached out to me on Instagram.
No, not on Instagram.
I know.
Seriously. Okay, that's surprising right there.
Yeah, I spend too much time there. But she reaches out to me and asks, how come we've never done an episode about people in the model room?
Super excited.
Yeah, so we started thinking, well, there's no real reason we haven't. We just haven't found the right person. Marsha, you up for it?
I guess so, yeah. I'm here.
You're our first.
Not that we haven't had people on that poor models, but Barb's from a big lab. I come from a pretty decent-sized lab. We all know how important it is.
Yes.
That the model room technician does it right.
The foundation of everything we do.
Yeah.
Everything. So, Marsha, before we get into the whole model room, how did you come into dental technology?
So, let's see. It was for me forever ago. We're talking like, I want to say 19 years ago.
Barb's like, that's nothing.
I mean,
thanks, Elvis.
That's like my whole life, like my entire time of being a mom. My son's almost 20, but I was in dental assisting school, and I was 18, 19, going on 19. I had to do something. My dad insisted I go to school. I'm like, all right, fine. So I was kind of following in the footsteps of one of my aunts. She was a nurse, so I went to nursing assisting school. That didn't seem like a good deal for me. And then she became a dental hygienist. I was like, all right, I'll be a dental assistant. And I finished school, and I never did my externships chairside, really. I did like half of it chairside. Ended up pregnant with my second kid. And because I didn't have my vaccines, they're like, well, we can't have you. You can do the desk work. And I started doing,
that was then, huh?
Yeah. And they ended up putting me, learning how to use the phones and stuff, but it was really depressing for me because I don't like desk work, stuff like that. So
you went through the whole school of assisting, and they don't tell you that you have to have the vaccines in order to
They did, but I know they said something about the vaccines. Like, I don't remember exactly. Sure. I know it was like the Hep C. It's one of the hepatitis vaccines. And I couldn't get it because I was pregnant. I was willing to just go and get it done, but because I was pregnant, I couldn't do it.
I didn't realize you couldn't get it while you were pregnant.
Yeah. My gyno was like, you can't do it. And I'm like, oh, great. There goes my career before you even get started.
Aww. Yeah.
So they put me, up at the front desk. I started getting really depressed. Ended up going out of town to visit some family members. Came back, short LOA, and they're like, "We really don't want you back. You're too depressing." And so Jeez. I go back. Yeah. I was in tears. Like, I was so in tears, and I was walking home from that office by myself. I couldn't get a ride home.
Oh, geez.
So I go back to the school, and this is Key Business College. We're talking the Corinthian colleges. And I go back, and I'm like, I don't have an externship now. What do I do? I'm like, well, let's put you in this dental lab. I'm like, all right, fine. So it was a little orthodontic lab, not too far from that dental office. And I loved it. And they're like, yeah, we really like you, but we can't keep you because we can't afford to pay another person right now. I'm like, well,
That's like 4 negative things in a row, lady.
Yeah, I really wasn't catching a good deal there. So I ended up finishing school, graduating. I graduated with honors, and I sat on my diploma until my pregnancy was done. It wasn't until a year later that I'm desperate looking for a job. I've got 2 kids on my hip, and I sat in front of my computer into the night, like 1-2 o'clock in the morning, scouring the online newspaper ads in the classifieds. And I got down to the bare bones ads where it's like 3 lines that this, some of these employers could afford.
Yep.
And I found the one listing for this dental laboratory technician. I forget the whole spiel, but it was like 3 lines, and I applied. They took me in.
Make teeth for money, call now.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And I like, at the interview, they were like, we want to hire you on the spot. And I was in tears.
So did you try to get a dental assisting job?
I never tried again.
Like,
yeah, you were probably like, see ya, bitches.
I'm trying to remember my mindset back then, but it's just, I went with what I felt like I was good at, and I got a lot of encouragement from those lab technicians in that ortho lab. So I just went down that road.
Nice.
And I think another thing about dental assisting is if you don't get hired on in your externship, and this is what they've always told us in school, I don't know if they still do that now, but if you don't get hired on in your externship, good luck getting a job easily. I mean, if you look at the job listings for dental assistants, they want experience. They need a year, 2 years.
Wow.
Like, you're not getting a job easily right out of school.
Interesting.
So I didn't know that. So you basically have to do an externship to be able to even qualify for an actual job in that.
In a way,
level?
Yeah. Yeah, in a way.
You gotta prove yourself for free.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Well, we were getting paid in our grades because the externship is part of the program.
Sure.
So we had to complete the externship to graduate. So it's like getting our hands-on clinicals. Like for nursing assisting, I had to have a certain amount of hours of clinicals in order to graduate. So it's the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
So my clinicals in nursing, I was working in a nursing home. Clinicals for dental assisting, working in a dental office or dental lab. So
dental lab, yeah.
That's how that worked out. And I worked for that dental lab for 3.5 years until the recession hit in 2018.
So what did they have you doing when you started? Because you said you love models. Is that what you went right into, or did you skip around?
They put me straight in the model room because that's where they needed it.
Wow.
Their previous model room technician that had been with them for a long time had left. And so they needed to replace them. And they're like, you have potential. We need you. You have some knowledge of dental stuff. Here you go. I'm like, okay, cool. And it was the most grueling training I had ever endured in any job I have ever been in. I've been in a lot of fast food.
Is it because you stood all day, or because they wanted so much volume, or like, what? Explain that to me.
It was just, I did not expect any of it. Because the dental laboratory module in dental assisting school, it was nothing. I literally had to just wipe that. Like nothing. Like, cause
how long does that teaching last? A day?
The module's a month.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised.
So a lot of the dental assisting courses are 8 to 10 month courses. We're talking, like I mentioned, the school Key Business College. Have you heard of Everest or Wyatt? Or
I have not, no.
Centuria, I think, is another one.
They might be regional. I'm not sure.
It might be, but there are these for-profit schools. They kind of get us into the door. They tell us all these promises and stuff. They go for the vulnerable, and
vulnerable. Yeah.
Really, they really do. They'll go for a lot of the vulnerable ones. And
they take anyone who can clear the money. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Pretty much. And so a lot of us who dealt with it, especially the Corinthian colleges back then, we got our loans discharged through the forgiveness programs.
Oh, that's nice.
Yep.
So that's a positive.
That is a positive.
All the stuff that you've been through, Jesus, I would be like, thank you. I deserve that.
Yeah. It was some rough beginnings, but back to your question, why was it so rough starting in the model room? It was not anything I expected. And the owners, they were ceramists, they were hard asses.
Yeah. Boom. That's right. I know one of those.
You are one of those. Was it just a fixed lab?
It was a cosmetic, Crown and Bridge.
Somebody have a Playmobil going on in the background?
That's my husband. Keep trying to call me. I'm telling him I'm in the podcast right now.
A little busy right now. So, I'm sorry, what kind of lab was it?
It was a Crown and Bridge lab.
Okay. So, I take it was all analog impressions, and they just threw you in there, or did someone actually take the time to teach you? So,
Ron and Jeff. So the lab was Henry Schweitzer Dental Arts. Like I said, it no longer exists. But Ron, he was my primary trainer, and he was just a hard ass. Mm-hmm. He kept seeing this potential, and pushing me and pushing me and pushing me. And me being I was 19 at the time. So
yeah, that hurts.
I was a kid.
Yeah.
With kids being pushed by this grumpy old ceramist.
Yep.
To do this potential thing that he kept seeing in me. And I was putting out about 15 cases a day by myself.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you're talking upper, lower, mounted, and dye trimmed?
So I didn't do the dye trimming. They were very particular about that. They did their own fine dye trimming. I did the gross. But yeah.
Yeah, those are good numbers for such a young age. Seriously. That's probably why he was pushing you.
Yeah.
Because he wanted 30.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. And yes, and these weren't just little single units either. They had the full arch cases, upper, lower, like you said, and some single units. So it's a mix of everything. And a few implant cases would come in. He would set the implants, and then I would just do my soft tissuing and then pour the models and stuff like that.
So you started there, and they're no longer in business. Was that because of the pandemic?
That was from the recession. That was 2018.
So that was 2007, maybe 8?
Oh, I said 2018. Sorry. I get my decades mixed. Yeah, it was 2008.
Yep.
The recession hit that late summer, fall.
Yep.
And business dramatically dropped. Mm-hmm. And I went from being salaried with commission and bonuses to commission only. So the way they did it, and this is something that I've heard in the most recent place I've been at, they would have like this, I'm trying to describe it. So like a semi-adjustable articulation would be a $7 thing. I would get $7 for semi-adjustable articulation. I would get $3.50 for a hinge.
Yep.
My models were worth $10 a piece. The number of dies, I think I also I didn't get something for the number of dies. Yeah. My resin pickup dies were like $1.50 a piece. Soft tissue models, so implant models were a whole $10.
Yeah.
So it was
that
like
makes sense. We used to call it pro pay, so it was pretty much, you've got a dollar figure on every single step that you're doing, and so it's tough to make a living like that, isn't it?
Yeah,
especially if the work's not coming in.
Yeah. It wasn't, and that was the worst part. Like, it killed me to leave because I loved them to death. They were like a second family for me. Ron and Jeff were like dads.
Yeah,
but I had to go, and I was putting more money out paying the babysitters and gas.
Yeah. Then you were bringing in.
Yeah.
So then where'd you go?
I sat on my butt and raised children for a long time.
That's nice that you were able to do that, though, honestly.
Yeah, that was actually when I was with my second husband by that point. And I've been together for 15 years since then, and he's been remarkable. I've been able to stay home, take care of the kids. One of them was sick with cancer, so there was that.
Oh, wow.
A bunch of other different things, ups and downs in my life. So I was mostly in fast food. And I tried to get back into dental labs, but I couldn't get my feet in the door at all.
When did you try to get back in? What year?
It was sporadic. It was just whenever. Let's see. So we moved to Louisiana in 2012. So that period before then, I did not try to get back into it. So when we came home to Virginia in 2015, I dove headfirst trying to get back into the labs. And I was not getting my feet back in the door at all. And that was me starting to get back into it in 2015. I didn't have the experience as a model room tech.
What did you do?
I kept sitting on it and hoping for an opportunity. And then a little over a year ago, well, actually it was several years ago, I did try removable. So I was with Affordable Care for a little bit, and that didn't pan out.
Did you go through their training program?
Affordable Care doesn't have like a program like Aspen Dental does.
Oh, okay.
I actually did get hired by Aspen Dental right at the beginning of the pandemic in March.
Wow.
And then they furloughed.
Yeah.
Before I could even do my start date. I had my start date, everything. And they're like, oh, by the way, we're furloughed. We'll let you know. I'm like, This is fantastic.
Yeah, right?
So, yeah, I did some stints with removables, and I didn't like it. It wasn't, and this isn't to knock removable, but for me, it wasn't complex enough.
Complex enough. Interesting.
Yeah, that's how I saw it.
Okay.
When I was with Affordable Care, one of the technicians I was working with, she was from Crown and Bridge, and she's like, yeah, removal is way easier than Crown and Bridge.
I've never done it, so I don't even have an opinion on that.
I bet you everybody's got a separate opinion on it. I guess it depends. That's just interesting. I've never heard anyone say it.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's just I've never heard anybody say it.
Yeah, but that's the gist of that. Then I ended up with my most recent spot for a year, and in the model room, high volume, high quality, high end lab. And that's where I started questioning some things about my role as a model room tech, how we are seen or treated. And I honestly ended up leaving that place because I wasn't happy with how me and my coworker at the time were being treated.
And what do you mean by that? Like pay wise or?
Pay wise, yeah. But also the way he described it best is that we were the CNAs of the dental lab.
What is CNA?
Certified Nurse's Assistant.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
That was how he
asshole.
That's how he described his feeling as to how they were treating us back
how
there.
Important you were to his lab. That's such bullshit.
Well, no, it wasn't the owner of the lab. That was my coworker who worked with me in the model room. That was him communicating how he felt about.
Huh.
He felt like they were treating us like the CNAs of the dental lab.
Oh, all right. Thank you for clarifying.
Sorry.
Gotcha. Oh.
Is being a CNA bad?
It's not bad, but it's not luxurious. But from my training and my time, and then still hearing about it now, it's mostly CNAs work in nursing homes.
Oh.
And so you're working with the elderly, you're getting dirty.
Yeah.
And you're not treated very well because you're at the bottom of the totem pole.
Did you feel like you were being treated poorly?
There were some side comments that have been said towards us, like directly toward us, that have made me cock my head and go, really? That came out of your mouth?
Really?
Like, you're too, like, if we made a mistake, the manager had come to us and was like, you guys, I'm really disappointed, this, that, and the other. Somebody's not trimming the bite registrations. And he would never directly say which one of us did it, even though we had requested, like, hey, for accountability purposes, can you please come to us individually? We do put our names on the work tickets, so everybody knows who's doing what case. If there's a problem, please come to us so we can fix it. Otherwise, doing the generalized, you guys, it wasn't working.
Yeah.
And so if somebody didn't trim the bite registrations to his liking. He'd come back and he'd complain about that. And then one day, what tipped me off was, I'm the top paid person in this lab and I'm at my desk trimming bite registrations.
Yeah. True.
I'm too good for that. Yeah.
And I just was like, please don't tell me that he meant like, I took it literally because I'm autistic and I do that, but I also know how to pick up on being jabbed at. And that one hit really hard as not feeling appreciated.
Yeah. I don't know about other labs, but the original lab I was at, we had one full-time, probably the longest employee with the lab over 30 years. She was in the model room. Mm-hmm. And she was phenomenal. But it was a rotating door of people that were with her.
Yeah, same here.
You know what I mean? Yeah. She owned that room like it was nobody's business. And it wasn't that she was hard to work with. It's just other people couldn't keep up with her and got discouraged.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the gist of what it was for me and my coworker. We owned it, especially after I got there. I replaced the former supervisor of the model room, not as a supervisor, but just she left. They needed to fill the spot. So I took the spot. And by the time I was done with my first year there, I had turned a lot of things around production wise to improve our workflow, stuff like that. So we were just owning everything. We could knock out 30 cases together, no problem. And that's just 30 analog cases, pour start to finish, multi-unit cases. I did all the implant cases myself, and I could have stacks of implant cases. Like, I think I've had up to 10 implant cases that I'd had to set up and then pour on top of, the regular cases.
Sure.
And then digital cases would come through that we'd have to base, articulate, and mount. And then things like diagnostic wax ups where we needed to do putty matrices, suck downs, you name it, things like that were thrown at us.
Yeah, so I've got that same thing in my department. He does all of that for my area.
Yeah.
Totally get it. And he's the most experienced. And so, yeah, you've got to do pretty much everything when you're at that level.
Yeah. It really sucked just not having our department considered. Our time didn't seem valuable. And I don't want to say this is everybody's lab or everybody's experience, but when I look around me, I don't see model room techs sticking around very long in the model room. They don't want to stay in the model room. They want to move up. They want to, do more things. And I think there is this idea that being a designer, being a full-on crown and bridge tech, being a ceramist, there's, in my opinion, there's like this glamour to it. You get more prestige. I don't know. I could be wrong.
So you got annoyed with them. So you were like, all right, we're being disrespected. So at that point, you're somewhere else now, correct?
So I did go somewhere else, and that was a bait and switch.
What do you mean?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I've not had a good time with this. So they wanted somebody who could do the model work and understand digital and learn all this other stuff, but I was doing more administrative work. So it was a bait and switch.
Yeah. So you thought you were doing model, but you ended up doing everything but model, pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And so I did leave there, and I am actually going to an interview tomorrow to work with the government, hopefully.
Foreign models?
I don't know. They needed a lab technician with experience with all sorts of handpieces, tools. It's a crown and bridge lab on base.
Wow.
And
for the Army?
Yes.
That's
the Air
fantastic.
Force,
Yes.
Good call.
Interesting.
So, and that's actually been one of my dreams of getting in on base, just to get a GS position.
That's actually where I took my CDT, was on the Air Force Base in Colorado.
I would definitely like to hear more experience about that, because I'm nervous.
Yeah, I was too.
There's a lot of people in our industry that got started in that fashion on some sort of base.
Yep.
I always get the Army and the Air Force and the Navy confused. I'm a citizen, but you know what I mean?
Well, I live in the area with the largest naval base in the world and several other bases just everywhere. It's, it's Virginia. It's Norfolk, Virginia.
Yeah.
So we're just surrounded by military.
Nice. Well, that's exciting.
It's exciting. It's nerve-wracking.
Sure.
At the previous lab, did you see digital models and everything impact your job, like in a good or a bad way?
In the, not the most recent, but the one before that one,
Yeah.
the digital models, I learned something from them. So I call that a good thing.
Yeah.
I think the downside is that we had to base them instead of the models being designed with the articulator part. So you could
Right.
just snap them together or
Yep.
glue on an Orbix or something. The lab manager didn't want to do it that way in the event that some of these models needed to be on a semi-adjustable. So if you're talking like a fully edentulous patient, full mouth of implants, it serves better to put it on a semi-adjustable than to try to put it on a hinge or using an Orbix or something, because in his mind, you can't make the movements a certain way, stuff like that.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So in that sense, that was the downside, because that was that whole slew of work coming in on top of the analog cases.
Wow.
So they were going in a couple directions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could have like 15, 20 digital cases come our way that need to be based and mounted. And then another 15 to 20 of the analog cases coming in that need to be fully processed through.
So the company that you're talking to tomorrow, are they pretty much all analog, or have they alluded to how they do their business?
I'm not sure. This is on the Army base, and
Yeah.
I've never been in a dental lab on base before, despite my husband having been Navy. I've never had to go in a dental lab there before. So this will be a different experience. I'm hoping there's digital, because I do want to learn digital. I do want to become a designer, and I do want to take my CDT. I scoured the internet for all the information because we don't have a school in Virginia for it that's accredited.
Yeah.
So the next best method is an accumulation of continuing education and experience. And from what I've read, people with 5 years or more of experience can go ahead and take their CDT if, obviously they have the skills. And I've got over 5 years of experience. I don't need continuing education credits, so I could theoretically go and take my CDT and get that process started, but there's still some skills I'm lacking. So
there's some good resources out there.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about, you had a lot of negative experiences from people within our industry about the model room.
Mm-hmm.
How can we improve that? I mean, like I mentioned, I worked with a fantastic model room technician, but she wanted to stay there, and most people don't. How can we help to kind of make that a better position for the people that are doing it? Other than just money.
Well, yeah, that money is definitely a big factor. Like feeling like we're underpaid for literally doing physical manual labor and being...
That is so important that is done right. That's what is so mind-boggling to me.
Like that was one of the other big things for me leaving. And I'm gonna definitely answer your question. I think I'm going to lead into that.
Yeah.
But the pay, I felt like I was getting paid good, but I also knew that I brought something to that lab. And they had specifically told me, like, thank you. You have saved us money with some of the things that you've brought in. And I'm like, fantastic. All right, you promised me a raise, so what are we at? And they're like, we'll give you $1. And I'm like, what? Hold up.
Yeah.
Hold up. So besides pay, a little appreciation, like understanding that this is a manual labor job. We do get our fingers torn up every day. We are at risk for, getting injured every single day. And I'm not saying other technicians aren't, because I don't know what ceramists, I know what they do. I have an idea, but I don't know.
They can poke themselves with their brush.
I don't know the nuances to ceramists and what they do. I know that I'm standing at a model trimmer and I've had models fly off that thing and I've had my knuckles ground in. Tabletop saws. Like the first time I saw a tabletop saw for cutting models, that thing terrified me. I was seriously thinking I was going to lose my fingers.
Oh, yeah.
The routers, I have lost fingernails on the routers. Mm-hmm. Just there's so much. And on top of that, we are, first level exposure to bloodborne pathogens because, we cut impressions. So
You think they're disinfected, but how many times are they disinfected, and then you start cutting the impression, and then the pool of blood comes out? Was that?
I have had several of those happen, and it's just
sure.
oh my God, back into the sink. Here's the cavicide. You're just going to hang out there, and then I'm going to steam you too, just to be sure. So yeah, it's just consideration that we are giving manual labor, and also maybe the consideration that the model room can get overloaded with extra tasks.
Yeah.
Like that one was rough, even when I was younger, because back then, you guys call it Emacs now, I was divesting Empress too.
Oh, God, I remember that. I bet you that tore up your fingers.
Yeah, well, I think I wore gloves. I might have worn gloves. No, I did not take care of my hands when I was younger. I'm
Same
gonna be honest
here.
with you. I didn't.
Yep.
But divesting Empress 2 and standing at that sandblaster for, if it's an easy little single unit crown, I could knock that out in about 15 minutes maybe. But honestly, it's 30 minutes to an hour depending on how many I had to cut out, and I have to do it gently. Otherwise, I'm cracking a veneer and I'm pissing off the waxer.
Yep. True.
I know our model room always used to hate it because, you have your work for the day, and, so many case pans come in and you're, all right, I got to pour up all this. That's one thing. But for all the, I need another check die. I need another die.
Yep.
I need another. Can you do another? Oh, I used to go in there 4 or 5 times a day sometimes.
I just dropped this model.
Yes.
I need to glue this articulator.
Yep.
Yeah.
We hit the die. I need a margin.
Solid model. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
The same way. That's funny, Elvis.
I think by the end of by the 6-month mark of being the last long-term place I was at, I was so tired of hearing, "Can you guys do me a favor?" No, I cannot do you a favor, sir, but I know I have to. So what is it?
Yeah. Maybe we should have just said please more.
Yeah. It's those little things, like it's just a little bit more fair pay for what we do, and just a consideration of our time and the amount of physical energy. I can definitely say going back into that model room over a year ago was one of the most painful experiences for me, because I am disabled. I have a lot of chronic physical conditions. And even though I called myself physically active because I was a dancer, I garden, I have a homestead, and all these other things that I do, being on my feet 8 hours a day was like totally different than pushing a lawnmower on my 1/4-acre property.
Oh, yeah. Some people just can't. It's hard.
It actually flared up a lot of my medical conditions that were underlying. And just this past October, I was diagnosed with hypermobile syndrome.
What is that?
So Ehlers-Danlos, or hypermobile spectrum disorders, basically stretchy skin, super flexibility. But there's more nuance to that because it can cause joint pain, extensive scarring or abnormal scarring that's very painful. Our skin can be very thin.
Yeah.
And depending on the type, if you have certain genetic types, which I don't, I had to go through genetic testing for that. You can have heart problems, periodontal problems. There's an actual periodontal type Ehlers-Danlos where your gums, all of that is severely inflamed. It's receding. The connective tissue in your mouth is super stretchy, so your teeth will fall out more. Like it's so much.
That's crazy.
And that job flared all of that stuff up. I mean, I don't have like I said, I don't have the genetic ones, so I didn't have the periodontal issues. But my spine, my joints, my everything. There are days I'd walk down the hallway with case pans, and my hip would slip out of socket, and I'm just like, oh, fun.
So, are you like controlling that now? Is there medicine you can do for that? I mean, how do you handle that? Because I mean, just like you were saying, you're going into another job and similar sort of work environment. So, how are you controlling that?
There is no treatment.
Really?
There's no treatment other than pain management mostly. You can get some medical devices, which I actually have a stack of referrals on my cork board that I need to go and fill in for like hip stabilizers, wrist stabilizers. I even have one for a special belt that keeps my hips from being too flexible.
Damn.
And you're going to go do this in the Army?
Well, the gentleman, the private first class said that it's a small lab and they're not terribly busy, but that's subjective. So we'll see.
Yeah. So are they hiring only for model tech, or do you think, like you said, you'd be able to do some digital? Because if it's a small area, maybe you can kind of offset some of that hardship of standing and grinding and all of that. Are you thinking about that?
I'm thinking about whatever they're going to throw at me.
Yeah.
Because at this point, like I said, my goal is to earn my CDT, and I can't be in the model room earning a CDT. There's not exactly a specialty in that. So I want my Crown and Bridge specialty certificate, and that's where I'm at.
So that might be a really good thing for you, switching gears a little bit.
Yeah, I do want to learn digital. I am looking long term because of these conditions. And while sitting in a chair isn't a walk in a park for a lot of people either, it's going to be a lot easier on my body in the long run.
I would say so.
Yeah, the nice thing is the Crown and Bridge, you can use digital to get the certification now.
Oh, they do. I did talk to a technician that was going to lab day, and I talked to him about all this stuff, and he's like, yeah, they're about to add on a digital component for a specialty. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, Barb wrote all the questions.
And working very, very hard on it, and we're really excited about that. We actually have our meeting coming up this weekend. So, yeah, it's really, I think there's a lot of excitement about that. And, technicians that only do digital and they don't know all of the other things, now they can actually focus on their specialty. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So that's where my goal is at, is Crown and Bridge and digital. And I'm glad that there's going to be a specialty to add on to the CDT.
Yeah. Awesome.
And I know a lot of digital designers that don't have model room experience, and I can only imagine how much better of a designer you'll be understanding all of that occlusion and equilibration and all of that.
Yeah.
It only helps.
Well, I mean, that's what I was taught when I was younger, is everything has a purpose down the road. Ron and Jeff were very keen on telling me what you're doing right now is going to serve down the road. You may not get it, but there is a bigger grand scheme for why you're doing your model work the way you're doing it, why I need you to remount this case, why I need you to do this. It's frustrating for me when I was 19, 20, and I didn't get it, but now I do understand it. So I've met a ceramist that has never worked in the model room. He's like, I don't know how to pour models. I don't know anything about this. Like, what?
I know a lot of technicians that don't know how to pour models. Barb, can you pour a good model?
Yeah, I actually started with refractory models. So I used to make the impression and then pour up the refractory models into it, flip it over into the base, and then I would cut it out, just like Marsha was saying with the saw. I'd have to cut out the dies and trim the dies. So believe it or not, Elvis, yes.
Yeah.
And I did that for probably 3 years. So yes, absolutely.
Did you really? Wow.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which I enjoyed that part of it. I agree with Marsha. I really liked, just the whole, stirring it and pouring it in and making sure you didn't get any bubbles and, just the whole thing. I enjoyed it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was satisfying, and it allowed me to be artistic while creating something.
Yeah.
I always considered it as like, I'm being artistic and I'm providing a service without having to deal with people.
Yeah. Agree.
That is one of the benefits of being a lab technician.
Yeah.
But not having to deal with the public.
Yeah.
Did you use a stone mixer? What do they call that thing that Whip Mix makes? That vacuum mixer?
Yeah, vacuum. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Affordable Care didn't have vacuum mixers, which really drove me up the wall. Having been in Crown and Bridge for the 3 years I was in, I was like, why don't we have a vacuum mixer? Air bubbles. No. I almost had a panic attack with that. But yes, the Crown and Bridge definitely. I think all Crown and Bridge have vacuum mixers.
Yeah. Or they should. They damn well should.
I mean, I don't know how you're going to keep from having micro bubbles without it.
Yep, exactly.
Without a vacuum mixer, can't you mix out the air bubbles yourself? I've never used one, honestly, but I haven't poured that many models.
So without the vacuum mixer, you basically would try to get them out using the tabletop vibrator. And that's a little bit of a science too, because you can over vibrate it and cause air bubbles because the mix will start churning in on itself and creating. Yeah. So if you mix it too high, it'll churn in on itself. And if you mix it too low, you're really not doing anything. So there's a little bit of I don't want to say a flick of the wrist, but there's a little tweaking to it.
Sure. I've poured up alginates a lot in my life because I was the last one at the lab every day. You know, that whole alginate comes in with the late afternoon driver, and that was me, but I had no idea I could over vibrate something.
Yeah. There's a lot of science in the model room. I don't know if other people consider it, but I mean, I considered it because I also liked working with chemistry because I was a soap maker for 3 years. And there's a lot of science behind, I mean, I think everything in dental technology, but specifically in that model room, like the climate of the room itself can affect your pores tremendously.
Like the humidity
and the temperature. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes.
How do you control that, or do you control that and just work around it?
So what me and my guy at my last place did, we put up, like during the summer, we would put up tower fans to keep air circulating and try to keep some of the humidity down. That's one way you can do it. So it's about providing circulation. So the wintertime's like the good time for pouring because it's a little cooler, it's a little less humid. Summertime, you've got more humidity and more heat. And when it comes to the stone, heat applied to the stone actually causes it to set up more. Yeah,
I had to pour up a model chair side yesterday. It was freezing cold in there, and it took forever
for it to set up.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
It's like I looked online. It's like 8 to 10 minutes. 25 minutes later.
Yep.
You know, you're like, it's kind of getting hard.
Yep, it'll do that. I just lost my train of thought there.
Sorry.
Nope.
I do that for people. I know a lot of people that when they pour up models, they don't measure water to stone ratio. Sounds like you would be big onto that. Maybe a little OCD.
I almost lost my ish at this very, very last spot. The very, very last spot I walked in the door, and 2 things I already knew they were doing wrong in there. And this was an in-house lab.
Okay.
So it was 3 other technicians. One of them was a CDT. The other 2 had maybe 2 years total under their belt. And they were trained by somebody else, not that particular CDT.
Okay.
So they're using stone slurry to pour up their models. Which there's nothing wrong with using stone slurry. Now, mind you on that one, but it's when you're using different stone slurry for, compared to what you're actually pouring, can mess up things like your expansion rate, your compression ratio, set time, stuff like that. And yes, I'm absolutely somebody who would measure.
So like they would use dye stone slurry for buff stone?
Yes. Like I saw this girl like grinding up some old blue models. I hadn't gotten to look at what their stone was at the time. So I just saw her grinding it up to make slurry. Then she pours it in the bottle, and then she's pouring up the, it was the expensive implant stone model.
Mm-hmm.
It was Fuji Rock IPS, I think. Fuji Rock. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all good. I don't know what the name brand is. I'm surprised I knew Buff.
Yeah, it's the expensive Fuji Rock that's like $50 a box.
Oh yeah. God, yeah.
And they were using blue dye stone slurry in that Fuji Rock because they wanted to set up faster. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm not doing that. That's how you end up with your models completely out of whack.
And things not fitting in the mouth.
Mm-hmm, pretty much. Things not fitting in the mouth because you've got distortions, you've got porous models. It boils back down to that thing I mentioned about chemistry. Like all these things matter.
True.
I mean, they were using tap water instead of distilled water. And I'm like, you don't use tap water with this stuff. I'm like, why? I'm like, because the chemicals in the tap water can interact with the chemicals in the stone and completely mess up everything.
So
wait a minute.
So true.
You have to use distilled water when pouring up models?
Yes. I had to.
You guys,
I had to go hunt down the distilled water and keep some beside me.
Yeah, that's what we do. Oh, yeah. That's what we do here, too. Yeah, of course. Everybody knows there's chemicals and crap in tap water. Elvis, where are you from?
The lab I'm currently at, I don't know what they do. But the lab I was at previously, yeah, we got that straight out of the tap.
Really?
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, I think.
What? I would lose my shit. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
had no idea.
I would implode if I saw that. I would keep myself, calm on the outside, but it just I couldn't do it.
You must go through crap loads of distilled water.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were at the last. Yeah, oh yeah. At the last large place I was at, they got to the point where they stopped buying distilled water and they got their own tabletop distiller.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's an expensive piece of equipment, but in the long run, it'll start paying for itself.
Well, shite. I just learned something huge.
Hallelujah. Happy for you. But yeah.
It's only April.
Cool, yep. You got to do it properly.
What other wonderful model tidbits do you think you might have for me?
I mean, I couldn't tell you right off the beat. One of the big things that stands out is how all these different steps can affect things like, your expansions, the strength of the model versus porosity.
What about a humidifier? Do you use those?
I've not seen any of the labs I've been in use a humidifier.
What, you put it in like a...
Yes.
The thing that makes like beef jerky?
I think it's like a dehydrator or a humidifier.
Yeah.
One of those. Yeah.
A dehydrator. Yeah.
You mean a dehydrator for dehydrating meats?
That's what I wanted to say. Yes.
Oh, no. We did, we actually had a toaster oven.
Yeah, that's cool.
For drying
we have our own little ways. Yep.
Yeah. So if at first they had like a heat lamp or something, and then the bulb blew on it.
Yep.
And so the lab owner brought us down this old toaster oven. I'm just like, all right, bet.
I'll give it a go.
And for the first month, our room smelled like Hot Pockets.
Mm-hmm.
It was making me so hungry. But yeah, it actually works out because you're applying heat to your models and it causes them to set up fast. It's not just drying them, but they're setting up faster because the application of heat speeds up the setting process. It's the exothermic reaction that's going on.
Is that something you can do too hot, too fast? Can you put a model in there and just crank it up if you need something done, or is it a longer kind of drying process?
I mean, you can. It's going to be hot as hell, but I don't know. I know I've rushed the models in the toaster oven. Yeah. But I've never had any downside to rushing.
You must be a dental technician if you've rushed something somehow. That's for sure.
We've all cut corners.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully not to the detriment of anything, but, within reason.
I saw a video the other day of somebody online that was trying to get a zirconia framework out of the oven and make it go fast. And he kept touching it and touching it and touching it and touching it until he could grab it and then put it in between his hands and go, oh my God, that's so me.
Yeah.
Not every day, but I've done that just to hurry. And my hands, you would think, my hands would be sensitive, but they're not. I can take some heat, but it's fun. So yeah, we all do it.
I'd probably set up a little fan.
Yeah.
Blow it down.
I've seen that. I've seen people put a fan on the table and blow it on models. I've seen that.
Yeah, that works, I guess.
That's a pretty classic move, I think.
Yeah. No, just get a little toaster oven. Line the rack with some foil. Be all right.
Yeah.
And then when you're having lunch, I've thrown pizza in there too, right next to models.
That doesn't mess with humidity?
No.
Mushrooms giving off?
Nah.
Well, I would have to say good luck tomorrow. I hope that goes really good for you. Yeah. I really hope that you're able to find some different, skills with digital and do a little bit of model work and hopefully get in a position where you're not sore all day and, super miserable. It sounds like you've got your hands full health-wise, but I'm hoping that you get there and you really enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm always nervous, but, I hope I can find a happy place, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I encourage everyone that's listening right now, pause, go to your model room.
And say thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And say good job, and don't do it just that once, because we put a lot of pressure on all those technicians. that do a lot of work.
Yeah.
I know they do, and they deserve the respect that they should get. Marsha, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate this.
Thank you.
This all started because I was just looking for some wholesome memes.
Yeah, and Elvis, how did you find Marsha? Or did you have an Instagram page as well? Or did you just see Elvis's crazy memes?
So this is funny. Elvis, I had friended him or linked him on LinkedIn a while back.
Oh.
Because when I saw your name, I was like, wait a minute, that looks really familiar. And I go to my LinkedIn page. And I'm like, oh, it's that guy. Okay. Well, holy crap. All right. But yeah, it was just, I was on Instagram and I started following you guys because the CDT I was working with at the very, very last spot, she did some stuff with you guys. And she's like, you need to listen in. And I'm like, all right. And I listened in. I'm like, all right, this makes me feel good. Wholesome dental technology memes. And one night I was just up late and I had a few drinks on me and I'm like, can we get some model room memes or something? And then Elvis and I just started chatting about, me possibly going to lab day, which I didn't go. And so this is where we're at.
Yep. And I still owe you some model room memes. I'm going to do one about tap water here pretty soon.
Actually, yeah, you should. That was a really good one.
Yeah. No more tap water, folks. Please, please.
Yeah, apparently I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Awesome, Marsha. Thank you so much. Let us know how it goes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Best of luck to you.
I appreciate it. You guys have a good day.
Absolutely.
A big thanks to Marsha for coming on our podcast. I tell you what, it's not easy working any job when you are struggling with health issues, but the model room makes it that much harder because it's really a physical job. To update on Marsha, since the recording, the job at the military base did not work out, but she did find a home at another lab that is mostly digital, so she'll be able to grow her skills and take on some scanning, nesting, and milling. And I'm telling you, guessing by her determination, soon she will probably be designing. Way to go, Marsha.
So I want to add real quick that during this episode,
I
was surprised to learn that people use distilled water in the model room. Mm-hmm. And apparently it's something you have to do. I checked with my lab derby. They do, in fact, use distilled water and filter it when they pour up all their models.
Nice.
So I just want to make sure we're clear because I wasn't sure at the time.
Well, of course they do things right, Elvis.
I would hope so.
Reed Nunnally, yes, he's the best.
You should have seen their face when I asked them.
Who are you? And now, for the third week in June, here are the audio thanks that we got for CDT and Dental Technician Appreciation Month.
Hi, this is Mandy Arena. I'm part of the IDA, the Illinois Dentures Association. I just wanted to take a moment to thank all of our supporters, everyone that's helping us and supporting us to make denturism legal. Not only just in Illinois, but in all the states. There's several states that are in the process of making it legal. Let's make it legal in all 50. Thank you guys. Thanks for supporting us and helping us along the way. You're a big part of it, and we couldn't do it without you.
Happy Dental Technician Month. Julio Munoz, you're the best partner anybody could have. Love you, man. You rock.
Holy schmoly, I've been called out again, and you know I have to deliver. What's up, Elvis and Barb? It's your poster fanboy, Joe Young of Young Dental Lab in Philadelphia. And you know I can't let you down. The podcast gives me purpose in social media life. It offers me hope and meaning and a reason to get up Monday mornings. I know I'm not alone in saying that I'm grateful for your efforts. Your contributions to the industry are enormously tremendous and impactful, so thank you both for all you do. Just saying, you're the reason I smile, laugh, and drink. Shameless plug, if you're a true fan of the podcast, look us up on Facebook under Fans of Voices from the Bench to join the fun. Now get the back to work. We've got smiles to make.
A super big thanks to everybody that sent in their audio. I'm going to send in mine this week, Elvis.
Okay.
You have one more week to get them into us. So everyone who has messaged us telling us that they will and still haven't, yes, do not be ungrateful. Seriously, get them in just before June is over. Let's go.
All right, everybody. That's all we got for you, and we will talk to you next week.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, God.